This is the Object 590, a Tier 8 Soviet premium collector medium. Honestly, it's hard to tell whether new Tier 8s are going to be premiums or collectors at this point in World of Tanks Blitz. Wargaming released the latest three Tier 8s as collectors, being the Kampfpanzer Project 68, the ST-62 version 2, and the Senlac. So it wouldn't surprise me if this comes out as a collector. It makes sense why Wargaming's releasing collectors. It's not because, oh, they're going to nerf the Tier 8s. Let's be honest, Wargaming doesn't really pay that much attention to Tier 8. There's vehicles like the T-77 existing, which are busted. I think the major reason why they like making vehicles collectors is because people with gambling addictions will sell their tanks in hopes to get crates to get more vehicles, and then the house always wins, they end up getting nothing, and then they have to spend more gold to buy their tanks back. That's kind of why I think Wargaming likes doing collectors. But in today's video, we're not going to be focusing on that. We're going to be taking a look at this vehicle. I have not looked at any of the stats yet. I just figured I would make a review on it, and I would base my opinions off of it as I look through the stats with you guys. Now, the vehicle, at least on the looks department, looks very similar to the LIS at Tier 7, which, funny enough, the CS52 lease on World of Tanks is a Tier 8 medium. And now that I've been posting World of Tanks content, it has been a little bit mind-numbing, because I'll play in a Tier 8 and I'll go up against the lease and I'll keep forgetting it's a Tier 8 and not a 7, and I'll be like, oh, it's not going to be that big of a problem, and then it craps on me. So, oh well. Either way, let's get into the stats. Armor looks very good on the turret. 200 mils, that's pretty good, especially because this is a rounded turret. So already I do have to say that that's a good thing. Going for the vehicle is a very solid turret. The hull also looks really good. Look at that. Side turret, 150, pretty good. The upper plate is 94 mils thick on this vehicle. Angled, it looks all right. And taking a look at the gun depression, this vehicle has 8 degrees. So far, just these three values alone have told me that this actually might be a strong vehicle. It's got great turret armor, decent hull armor, and 8 degrees of gun depression. That's all really good. Alright, top speed wise, it goes 52 and a reverse of 18. Pretty average for a Soviet, I would say. It's got a power weight of 21, which is very good. And the vehicle is, yeah, pretty mobile, actually. Its terrain resistances seem to be pretty good as well. The vehicle weighs in at 40 tons, which is not heavy, but it's also not very light. The IS series tanks, for example, like the IS-3 weighs in over 50 tons, or I think it's like 49. So it's not a super light vehicle, but it's not anything crazy. The vehicle can turn at 60 degrees a second, which is pretty alright, pretty classic for a medium. Let's take a look at the DPM. This is where, you know, things start to get important. 2,267. That's alright, I guess. It's nothing crazy, but it's pretty average for a medium, which is fine, because the vehicle, as we can see, deals 280 damage per shot, which is classic medium Soviet alphas. So, nothing crazy, but it's pretty average in the DPM department. What I do think looks pretty nice is the pen. This is with Rammeron, so with Kali, that pen's going to be just about 200 on the standard, and it should be about 270-ish on the premium. That's actually pretty good. That'll be enough to cut through the majority of Tier 8s, even Tier 9s, so you won't have much of a problem there. Average damage, as I said, 280 on the standard, pretty good. It has heat as a premium shell, which is actually quite a stark difference from the majority of Soviet mediums. Almost all the Soviet mediums have APCR premium. Look at the T-54 Mod 1, ST-262 V2. A lot of them like to shoot APCR premium, so it's a little surprising that this vehicle does get heat. It has HE with 350 alpha, very nice, and it has an aiming time, ooh, 4.3. That's a really bad aiming time. We'll have to see how the vehicle's on-move dispersion values are, because if the aiming time and on-movement dispersion are poor, it's going to make this vehicle an absolute nightmare to play. However, I'm going to be completely honest, the vehicle looks absolutely incredible, and I don't say that lightly. Normally, when a new Soviet medium comes into the game, for example, the ST-62 V2, I'm already expecting it to be quite mediocre. This is the newest Soviet medium added into the game. It was released like 2 weeks ago, and this vehicle has very mediocre stats all around. The gun is very similar to the 590. We can see dispersion, aiming time-wise, even the DPM almost the same. The alpha damage is the same, but you can notice that it has premium APCR compared to heat. I'm not really sure how that's going to work out. Heat is nice if you're shooting through kind of like German-style tanks where they're big, flat, angular pieces that you can cut right through. Heat is really going to struggle against Soviet-style armor where you've got a lot of spaced armor, you got a lot of weird angles. That's when it's going to struggle. I think it'll be better, though, for the majority of situations because it will be more pen than the APCR these vehicles get. But as I was saying, the gun-wise, the ST-62 is basically the same as every other Soviet medium, and that's the case for the 590 as well. The Mod 1, as we can see, 2100 DPM, similar pen values. Take a look at the gun's alpha damage, 280. You know, everything on all the Soviet mediums are almost the same. Look at the Object 274A. This vehicle actually does have a unique alpha at 310, but pen-wise, when it comes to the DPM, the dispersion, the aiming time, still basically the same as all the other tanks. But the reason the 590 looks incredible is because of the platform it's mounted on. First of all, the vehicle gets 8 degrees of gun depression. There's not a single Soviet medium at tier 8 that is 8 degrees right now. The ST-62 V2 has 6 degrees. The STG has, actually it might even be 5, but I think it is 6 degrees. No, it's 5, but it's super low down, so it's not a big problem. T-44-100 has 5, I think. The T-44 has 7 degrees, 274A has 7, and the Mod 1 has 6. So already, all these vehicles have worse gun depression than the 590. But it gets even better because the 590 also has 200 mils of turret armor. The ST-62 has decent turret armor, but it's not as much, it's 180. And if you make your way over to a vehicle like the T-44-100, this vehicle's got dookie turret armor, 120, that's awful. 274A, only 160 mils as we can see. And then the last vehicle left, which probably has the best turret armor out of the bunch, is the Mod 1, and it's still only 180. So 200 mils of turret armor is actually super duper good. Maybe the STG has 200 mils, let's see. 210, so yeah, the best way to describe the turret armor is kind of like what we have on the STG Guard. And that's actually really, really solid. We can see it's a similar angle. That's actually really good. And I'm quite confident that you're going to get a lot of bounces on that turret. You do have hatches. We can see one big hatch here, one big hatch there, but I don't think it's going to be a huge problem. When you're using 8 degrees of gun depression with that turret armor, it's going to be absolutely incredible. The only other thing I want to see is the upper plate armor on the LIS, because the LIS actually has a really good upper plate, and it's sitting at 80 mils thick. Wow. So this is actually just going to be really good. This vehicle has an upper plate that is 94, and with 8 degrees of gun depression, that's probably going to be an auto bounce, and you're not going to pen it really at any angle. Essentially, the best way to think of this vehicle is a T-62A at tier 8. That's the best way to describe it, or an LIS at tier 8. The vehicle has very, very solid stats going for it everywhere. And while the gun is pretty average and even mediocre in terms of its dispersion and aiming time, even compared to the other Soviet mediums, I think the armor, gun depression layout is going to make this vehicle an absolute beast. Hopefully, all of you enjoyed today's video. This obviously takes a bit of time and effort data mining. I wanted to post this video sooner, just like the German video that I have up earlier today, but the problem is that well, the armor profiles just never came out for these vehicles, and I'm hoping they would be. So, unfortunately, we don't actually get to see the live armor. Knowing my luck, literally the moment I post this video, the armor profiles will be out, but oh well, it's not the end of the world. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.